What's on Your Minda contains honest, intimate, and uncensored depictions of mental health issues and experiences. Content and trigger warnings can be found in the description for each episode.
Welcome back to another episode of What's
on
on
Your
Your
Minda?
Minda? I'm Amanda,
And I'm Diana.
and we're clinical psychologists at Minda Psychology Services.
Yes.
And I feel like today, Diana,
Yeah.
I want to bring up something that I am obsessed with, which is Harry Potter.
Awesome. Because me too.
I know we are Potterheads.
We are.
Right? And I feel like, there's so many depictions of like mental health in media, like actual depictions of them saying this is a depressed person and all of that. But I feel there's so much more media where they don't actually say that, but that is up to interpretation for us to see and analyze what is happening in these characters that we see. And I feel like Harry Potter, why I'm talking about this is because it's just always on my explore page, okay? Like, it's never gone. I feel like I didn't drop the obsession since it started, and it's still here. And then it got me thinking, like, could Voldemort have been different if he had a different childhood?
Yeah, he really could have.
Right?
Like, and all the people wouldn't have died,
Yeah.
right? Like, who knows? It's a very possibility, but okay. It's not to say this kind of boils down to another question of like, are we gonna sympathize for people or murderers or like the villain of the story?
Yeah.
But then also there's the other side of the story. It's like, oh, the villain's origin story. Like,
Yes.
if you actually know how Voldemort's storyline is, it's really quite sad, really
sure.
depressing, and really, really heartbreaking of like how much struggle he went through. And he was like, first things first, he was not out of love. It was fake love from the
Big love.
from the love potion.
Yeah. Amortentia.
Sorry?
Amortentia? That's the name of the love potion.
Right. My bad.
Sorry, I'm exposing myself a bit too much here.
No, you should, as you should. That's your level of expertise, Potterhead. Right? Flaunt it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it makes sense. And I think previously when we talked about relationships in the previous episode, you mentioned about how like childhood experiences and like early life experiences can actually impact you to today.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much true. When we do our work as clinical psychologists, a lot of times when we try to conceptualize, or I would say like to understand the situation or like a person or a client, right? We don't just look in the present. We also do look in the past. And how much that can actually impact the person. How much do you think it can impact the person?
I mean, that's really that nature nurture difference, right? I think it does impact people substantially, like significantly. If there was significantly like negative experiences in your past, I think that definitely would have had an impact on how you view the world. Like, for example, going back to Voldemort, right? Like you said, there is an aspect of nature here. He was conceived because of a love potion, and in the books what they say is if that happens, you are born without the ability to love. Which is a crazy thing to say, like, hey, a child is born like that. That's nature. But then what happens in nurture? He never gets the experience of learning how to love.
True.
He's tossed in an orphanage. His dad hates him. Right? And
not just that, like his family.
His whole family, yes, that's true. Tossed in an orphanage, and
even in an orphanage he was ostracized. This is weird.
Yeah, he was weird. He's
a wizard.
Yeah.
He has magic abilities.
Yeah. So that's obviously like another experience he goes through. He goes to school, and then in school, it's almost as if the people who are following him are the people who want power, so it's like, well,
yeah. But also another thing is to highlight about Voldemort that he is a really powerful wizard.
he is
Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that's nature too, or is that part of nurture? Do you think that because he was conceived, or like because of that because of there was so much hurt from or like lack of something, right? He was able to harness so much power he's a really, really knowledgeable wizard.
Yeah.
Like
And so powerful, just like that innate power is there.
right. Just the innate power one, and I think also the ability and the knowledge to access this power. Like
Yeah.
he didn't learn. He had to learn about Horcruxes.
Yes.
You know, like that was not innate, but that came from the fact that okay, I'm interested or curious to like he himself as a person is quite driven, determined. You know, he manipulated a lot of people.
Yes.
He manipulated a lot of
That
people.
he did and killed.
Oh yeah, he
Don't
killed.
know about that part.
Oops, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But I think like with that question, I feel like I want to answer it in a way that let's draw the parallels between Voldemort and Harry Potter.
Okay.
Because Harry was also an orphan. He got sent to these abusive family members, aunt and
Yeah.
uncle, and his cousin. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, poor boy. Lived in a cupboard, okay, for a good part of his life. Poor boy.
Oh my
Okay, treated as a slave at home,
Guys,
right?
the real villain is Dumbledore. The real villain is Dumbledore. Like,
Dumbledore.
like the very first scene when McGonagall was like, "Are you sure you want to send to this? They're terrible people.
Yeah.
I was observing them the whole day.
They're
They're
terrible.
the only family he has."
So, like blood relatives, you know. But like apparently there's an explanation for that, right? Like because of the blood relative and the protection, because you're in the Muggle world, it's harder
Yeah.
to find him or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, screw that. You
Yeah.
could have protected him from the abuse
Yes.
from these Muggle.
I think it could have been handled differently.
Definitely,
You know,
yeah.
Like, to communicate to the freaking auntie and uncle.
Yeah.
To just not leave him as a baby on a doorstep. That's so sad.
Crazy. Yeah. So from that, can you imagine? He had, you know, like if we drew the parallels there in terms of childhood experiences, it kind of is similar,
similar.
right?
Interesting.
But why did Harry turned out good and Voldemort didn't? Like, I don't. These are like some headcanons, right, about the world. But like, Harry Potter is a powerful wizard too.
You think? I think his wife is more powerful. Like Ginny. Innate power.
I think innate power is still Harry.
Really?
Oh, this
This debate.
debate. I think it's still Harry.
Okay.
Because I don't think he's not the brightest person.
Yes.
So I think if he had that ability to gain knowledge and know more about it, he would have been even more powerful.
Okay.
But just with like natural talent, I think that's why I feel he is a very, very powerful wizard. And Ginny probably has that power plus that sort of like determination
right.
of like just like this is me, like
Yeah.
you know, like this is who I
flaunting,
am.
yeah.
And like
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm just not impressed by Harry's magic. But maybe because he's a teenager.
Well, that's true. We
He's
don't
a
know what happened
child.
after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like for a teenager, he learned a lot of like he had to learn fast.
Yes.
He had to because of the trauma, because of the
Yeah, of
war,
course. And
because
he-
of being hunted.
He kept being put in these positions of responsibility where
Right.
you know he had to follow. I mean, honestly, look at first year. Okay,
Yeah.
first year itself,
Gosh.
he had to face a professor
Yeah.
who was living with a part of Voldemort on the back of his head.
That's a horror story. I
What
don't know.
happened to the professors who were there? Like, what happened to the adults in their life? They just did it
Right.
alone, and nobody like trusted and like did anything about it. Of course, they were wrong. They thought it was Snape, but still,
Yeah.
with a suspicion like that, you know, who knows, right?
But
So,
yeah.
not being trusted, but they
Yeah.
had to do things themselves. These poor kids, right?
I know. What the hell are the adults doing?
I don't know, man. Like these adults. But again, it's a children's book, so I guess the protagonists they gotta be able to do stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you look at the parallels there, right? Like, I think there's an element of nature, but there's also a huge part of it is nurture as well. What were they exposed to
Yeah.
after that? You know, with what they came with nature, what else were they exposed to after that either played into what they already had or went against what they already had?
Understand?
Yeah.
So that's where I guess the mix of like when two things, the innate part of you, like your temperament, all is influenced by either being enhanced or diminished or suppressed due to the environment.
Yeah.
So in this case, both of them came from a place of like where both parents are not there, and they both face that abuse from their family. Again, like I guess at different levels or different intensities. I, but yeah, but I do. Then I guess that the outcome of it, of one becomes a hero and one becomes a villain, is probably because of that innate part of themselves too. But would that mean that Voldemort is, to say, like, born evil?
Well, this character, this fictional character,
Disclaimer.
like again, we go back to like the the backstory that was given to us, where he was born without the ability to love. Does that
Yeah.
make someone evil?
I guess so.
I guess not, though.
Really?
I think not. I think because there are a lot of people who are born with, like, for example, they struggle with like alexithymia, right? The inability to feel emotions or feel very muted emotions.
Yeah.
And
True.
but it doesn't make them evil. There are a lot of
Yeah.
people who are sociopaths or psychopaths, but they don't all turn out to be serial killers.
True.
Right?
True.
So it's almost as if, like, if Voldemort had a different upbringing, maybe someone who told him, like, hey, even though you don't feel these things and feel love, like,
There are
power is not the only.
repercussions.
Yeah, these are the repercussions. This is how you can train. Like this, you could still have a fulfilling life without having these kind of like relationships in your life because you can't feel that, right?
Damn.
Yeah, like
I
hey,
love that.
he could have gone on to be, I don't know, the minister of magic.
I was thinking the same.
Which he wanted, but in a wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's just a natural leader,
Yeah.
because of his drive and
And a lot of people with ASPD, antisocial personality disorder, or what would be like the clinical term for psychopathy, they end up in really high positions because, no shade,
Yeah.
right? But they do end up in really high positions because they are not ruled by emotions.
true.
They have this determination and ambition that gets them to higher positions, but also they have that ability to, sort of take advantage of situations and not feel that bad about it,
Right.
which is unfortunately a prized trait in CEOs and corporate, hierarchy,
Right.
right? So Voldemort could have been maybe the next CEO of some, I don't know, wizarding conglomerate or something,
Yeah.
but with the experiences he had, I feel like drove him into a life of murder.
Yeah.
And power, and gaining power in the wrong way, and the ideals that he had of, pure blood supremacy.
Yeah.
Because Voldemort
Yeah.
himself was a half-blood.
That's why the biggest irony
Yeah.
of the story.
Like, why prize pure blood? Because that was what was seen as powerful, as pure, as like, this is how I get that validation. I gotta erase
Yeah.
all these muggle porns and
Like mixed bloods.
everything. Yeah.
I had a question about that before then. Would that mean like for those like, because you mentioned about emotions, right? So would that mean like those who are maybe more like maybe like someone who is in tune with their emotions, are they not going to be able to make good leaders?
That's a good question. I think in this world that we live in, it is harder if you come across as an empathetic person.
Right.
If you come across as a cold person,
Like
but
cutthroat.
cold but charismatic,
Right.
you can get far. Unfortunately, that is how the world works, right? But if you come off as a warm, empathetic person, you are the kind of person that people would probably want to take advantage of. And they would use you, they would step on you to get to a higher position.
Right.
Because you're nice, because you're kind, But I feel like there are a lot of like companies and like, for example, our industry, that this is a prized trait, to
Right.
be kind and warm and empathetic, that we can, develop. We can like go to higher and higher positions because it's a prized trait in this industry,
Right.
versus other like, corporate or like, I don't know, banking or what else is there? What else is there? Investments? That's in banking,
Property.
right? Property.
All these words.
Yeah, all these things, like tech or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's harder, I feel it's not impossible. I think it's definitely possible, but it's harder to get to that point, because even if you're, whatever gender you are, and you have that, there are different stereotypes associated. If you're a woman, or if you're female presenting, and you're warm and empathetic, they would probably be like, oh, she's just nice, like she doesn't have what it takes to climb the ladder, you need to be like ruthless and all of that.
Yeah.
But if you are ruthless and cold as a woman, you'd just be seen as a yeah,
dude.
And which is like, you never win. So, and either way, if you're male presenting or a cis man, for example, and you're warm and empathetic, people would also have negative perceptions of you. They'd probably be like, oh, you don't have what it takes either, but not in the same way as a woman, but in the way of like you're nice, we're not going to promote you because you're nice.
Yeah, I'm going to take advantage of you.
So I feel like, unfortunately, in our world, if you're in tune with your emotions, it's a good thing for your well-being, but not such a good thing for corporate politics.
That makes a lot of sense, because I think that also talks a lot about why, first things first, like being emotionally in tune, it's not an emphasis in our culture, it's not emphasized in like education, it's not emphasized in families. Like, it's so normal to not be emotionally in tune, to not know how to regulate yourself, not know all these things, although they are actually really, really important traits and skills that you need to have, right? But yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it's like, okay, the way the world works at the current moment, based on that theory, is that it's not being valued.
It's unfortunate, right? I feel like it's such a good trait to have, a good skill even to have, but unfortunately that's what happens.
Speaking of going back to Harry Potter, I want to know who's your favorite character and why, as your analysis as a clinical psychologist.
Girl, don't do this to me. But I actually have fun. I think with our debate just now, it's probably showing. My favorite character is Harry.
Yeah. Why? Convince me. Because he's not my favorite.
I get it. Yeah.
Something about him irks me.
With what I know about you, I get it.
Okay.
But to me, I feel like maybe I am interpreting it in a way that is not what is seen in the books already.
Okay.
Because the books came out so long ago, right? The movies and blah blah blah. Like, in my head, what I know of Harry Potter is this is a boy who has lived through such a terrible childhood. This poor boy. But he still wants to do good. He doesn't have the skills that his friends has. He's not as smart as Hermione. Bless his heart, he's not as smart. Nobody is as smart as Hermione, okay?
True.
He doesn't have that sort of like, very fierce loyalty that we see in Ron as well. I mean, he's loyal to his friends, but he's not the kind to stand up for himself in that way. But I would say, like, that is probably a part of his childhood too.
Yeah.
This Harry Potter is a boy who experiences abuse, has terrible self-worth and self-esteem, goes into a place where suddenly people like him, or he's important now.
Oh yeah.
And
that must be confusing.
It doesn't go to his head.
Oh. Okay.
It's sort of this thing of like, he's still struggling to figure out who he is, because all his life he was told that he's just below.
Yeah.
He's just a second-rate citizen. He's a slave in his, relative's house. So he goes to this place. He gets all this fame suddenly. All these people want to be friends with him. But it never goes to his head. Okay. He's always still like, I am still humble. I actually don't know what I'm doing. These, especially in like Order of the Phoenix.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, right? When he starts the Dumbledore's army and he's like teaching them, and he's like, a lot of these things are luck.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do these things. I just figured it out and it happened.
True.
But also in that case, that is another like point in my case of like why he's powerful. Because it can't purely be luck. He should be dead by now.
Okay.
You cannot kill a powerful dark wizard with purely Expelliarmus, a disarming spell, if you're not that powerful.
But he did.
He did, exactly.
With Voldemort.
Yeah.
He said Expelliarmus. He didn't say.
He disarmed him, and it killed him.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? You're right. But I felt like okay.
Also, I like him because he is sassy in the books.
Oh yeah.
The Harry in the books, I feel, is like he's that. You see traits of him in how he had to survive from his childhood in like protecting himself, and he came out as a very like sassy person who he doesn't fight back a lot, but he can be sarcastic. He can be sassy. He can say things that make you feel like, okay, fine. Like this boy, like he doesn't let people walk all over him all the time, you know. So
Understand.
yeah, that's another part of why he's probably my favorite character.
Thank you for the depth of it, because I never thought of it that way. My perception was more of my perception was more of like, maybe because I'm not seeing Harry as Harry. You know, I'm seeing Harry as like a byproduct of the environment. You know that.
Okay.
I think I read somewhere saying that Dumbledore was using him as a lamb. You know, to sacrifice him at the end. And
Which he did.
yeah, he did. And that he really was like that survival, that him able to survive. I didn't see it as your point of view of like he was able to survive because not just luck, because of, you know, his skills, right? I didn't see it that way. I was like, yeah, somehow he just made it just by the thread, just by the hair. You know, if not, he would be like, you know. But
it's a very similar thing to like, you know, PTSD survivors, where they are in survival mode until the end.
oh my gosh, just imagine. You know, the first thing I was thinking about at the end of the last scene in Deathly Hallows 2 was how much, after the war has ended, how much I was thinking, is Harry ever able to relax? Will he have PTSD symptoms? Will he get nightmares?
Oh my god, for sure. I think
Kan,
for sure.
right? And if they were ever to do like that, like post scene, I feel like it would be they wouldn't do him justice if they don't show that he would struggle with those mental health concerns, like that. I'm sure the nightmares, because he was already struggling with so much nightmares, and like the mental torture. So yeah, I think that's also why I really like Harry Potter, because there is a lot of mental health elements to it, but it's just shown in magic. You know, like I don't remember the actual terms of like when Snape was trying to train him to like not let Voldemort.
The legilimency and occlumency.
Yes, occlumency, exactly.
Like not let Voldemort get in his head
Yeah.
and read his mind.
Yeah, literally. Like, how scary is that?
That's crazy.
It's so scary. Like someone being able to read your mind, and
Look through you and see what you're seeing.
yeah,
My god.
it's like you're just like a walking CCTV.
I never thought about it
human
that way.
CCTV.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Kan,
yeah.
and like it's like no consent whatsoever.
None.
It's like pure, pure just taking control over you.
Like, poor boy. Nobody else had to go through that kind of shit. You know what I
know.
mean? Like,
And you know what I noticed also in the books about Harry is like he doesn't really share about his struggles.
yeah.
That's the part where I have to commend his friends, because they saw the signs in him.
Yeah.
They knew, like I've seen countless of times when Ron and Hermione just like knew he was struggling. Like he woke up from a nightmare, you know, he would just like wake up and scream, or like
But he never talked about it.
Yeah.
He never actually
Yeah.
said it.
Yeah.
Right?
And they will ask, hey, what did you see? You know, hey, like what was that about? And he'll be like, nothing, you know.
Harry has avoidant attack.
Yeah. He's just struggling by
Maybe
himself.
because I see myself in him.
Oh, maybe.
Not that I was abused. I wasn't.
I know.
But you know,
The
like that
way-
sort of the way you relate
Cope.
to the world, the way you cope it's a very similar way that I see, right? Of like
Yeah.
avoiding things.
I mean, makes sense because he didn't have anyone to be attached to anyways.
yes.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, he had to
exactly.
survive. And his attachment style is a result of trauma. You know, not having caregivers is a trauma. Or having caregivers that are not emotionally present, or neglectful, or abusive and harsh
Yeah.
is a form of trauma, right? So,
Yeah. Okay. So my favorite is Harry Potter, the boy
Yeah.
savior himself. Who's yours?
that's a great question, because until today, I still don't know. Yeah, I don't know who
Hold on.
my favorite character is, but I would say the character really that really impacted me is Dumbledore. Something about Dumbledore's whole. When I read when it folded out, I couldn't stop reading, and that's how good the writing was, and also like how good the story was, and how betrayed I felt. You know, something about why wasn't he able to communicate? Like, I think that's the thing that irks me the most, because he is the most avoidant person of all. He didn't communicate squat about anything, about nothing. He was like, "Hey, follow me to this random place to find this random ring.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna do hurtful things to myself.
Yeah.
But
Don't stop me.
don't stop me." Like, no explanation whatsoever. And bless Harry, he took it like a champ. I'll be like, what is going on, old man?
What's wrong with you?
I'll be
Leave
like,
me alone.
that's why. And just the frustration of how he left his will. Just three random things. A book, a freaking
The Illuminator.
and then also until today I don't get why
The
Ron got the
snitch.
Illuminator. It's like almost he can predict Ron was gonna leave them or something.
Yeah, like, you know what? That's not nice, Dumbledore.
Yeah.
That's really mean
Yeah.
to predict that. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's true, but still.
Yeah, you know, it's I think the amount, but it makes me think about like how, I guess, with a lot of knowledge about what things are, maybe it's also a lot of power to expose these things. But yeah, that's something. It's not a really favorite character, but it's just a character that really emotionally impacted me. It made me think a lot about it, and even with his backstory about like a little bit about like his family and what he did to his siblings and things like that, I was not able to get past that. I'm just like, these are children. But again, it's a fictional story.
Fictional story, but that's where, we can definitely be affected by it, because it's so hard to read about that.
Yeah.
And see how that, even if it's, fictional, it's fake, it's not real life, but
Yeah.
there are people like this does happen in real life,
Yeah.
and that's really, really heartbreaking.
Yeah. I mean, like, who are we to say that the difference between Dumbledore and Voldemort? They both manipulated people. It's just that one didn't kill the other.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, one didn't kill people for whatever
Blood
reason.
supremacy
Yeah.
situations,
Who's to
but
say that? I mean, they're both in high powers.
yeah.
They're both leaders. They're both really powerful wizards. Until today, I'm still wondering why didn't just Dumbledore settle it? And the only reason is because it's not part of the prophecy. But to be fair, it's because the only one who can kill Voldemort is Harry.
But that's because Voldemort put a part of his soul in the poor boy.
I mean, imagine if
He
Dumbledore.
had to die the whole time. The whole time, my poor boy he was groomed to go die,
Yes.
so that this can kill this evil wizard.
Yeah.
He had such a terrible life,
Yeah.
like a little spurt of happiness, and then I gotta go walk into the forbidden
and
forest
to
and die.
think, and to think, right? Dumbledore was there when Voldemort was young. You see what I mean? He was there
Before the Horcrux.
Before the Horcruxes.
any of that, okay?
Like, he had a vibe. He went to that when he's to his room. He saw the cupboard burning. He was like, "Do you know you're a strange person? You knew."
You knew, and then you just didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You didn't nurture him in the right way. You didn't.
Yeah.
What happened? Like,
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's why I still feel like in the end of the day, the real villain is Dumbledore.
no, I get it now. I get it. I think that makes a lot of sense. And maybe Voldemort himself was a product of the environment, which Dumbledore was part of that environment as well.
Yeah. Could be also a product of Dumbledore's mistakes.
Yes.
Lack of intervention, perhaps, same with, like, can you imagine he repeated the same thing to Harry?
Yeah.
He left Voldemort in an orphanage. He also left Harry both in abusive relationships, households and environments, and just hoped for the best. I mean, I get it, like, he's not the main caretaker. I don't know.
But he could have delegated it.
something, right? I
Something.
mean, he's a freaking powerful person. Lots of
Yeah.
connection.
Just doesn't make any
Something,
sense. Someone, I'm sure he would have found someone. But anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, we get heated about this, so let
Yeah.
us know if you want more.
Yes.
But I think for now,
Yes.
that we covered a bunch with just Harry Potter. We could continue, but with that, let us know if you have particular specific questions about any other pop culture or media that you want us to look at and analyze in
Yes.
the eyes of clinical psychology and mental health and well-being. You can reach us by commenting down below if this is YouTube, or if you're listening to this on Spotify, leave us a comment. You can also reach us through DMs at Minda Psychology on Instagram, or reach us through email at hello@mindapsychology.com, or just visit our website at mindapsychology.com. And we'll be happy to hear from you about what
Yes.
else you want us to talk about.
Yep.
But with that, this has been
What's on your Minda?
Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Bye.